What's swaggin', guys? Someone left a comment yesterday that I didn't do enough gambling on the gambling episode, so I prepared a little trade up. Um, Honestly, the expected return on this was probably pretty bad, pretty deep into the negatives. But basically, the goal of this trade up was to get a fac new Frozen Aurora war paint, and we got pretty close. There were a couple minimal wears in there to make it cheaper, and it ended up being minimal wear, but we did get the Frozen Aurora war paint, so it was a little bit of profit. Um, but yeah, probably not a good trade up. I would definitely not recommend repeating doing that, but thanks to whoever left that comment. Anyway, we will be taking it into a Gold Rush game with our buddy Dreadnought, maker of the snow globe taunt that you're seeing. And yeah, I think we're gonna be doing a little bit of classic sniping. Now, I love the classic. It's one of my favorite weapons in this game, and I have a strange one with quite a number of kills on it already. I like meme weapons. I like gimmick weapons. Gimmick weapons in video games are very fun when done right. For those who don't know, the classic is different from the stock sniper rifle because you can charge up the shot without having to scope in. And so what's really fun for me about the classic is that I can just not scope in a sniper. Similar to the huntsman in that way, because obviously there's no scope on the huntsman, and you have to charge up your shot there too. I think the worst aspect about the classic is actually a stat that isn't even listed in the description of the item, which is that you can't shoot while you're in midair. So if a soldier pops you up with a rocket, you just lose your ability to shoot them. And if you've been charging up a shot for a few seconds, right, you're still charging the shot and you get popped up into the air. Well, now you have to just either wait to hit the ground and then shoot, or you can just switch to your secondary, which is probably what you would have to do. But if you're already in the air, you've already taken damage, and that's when you pull out your SMG, you're probably going to lose that fight. So the trade off is really the fact that you can't fight at close range once you no longer have a shot charged up. But if you play it safe and only peek when you have a shot lined up, it's actually kind of safe to swing corners because you have a potential 450 damage that you're ready to deal the instant you see an enemy. And so you'll see here I build up a pretty solid kill streak while kind of missing the majority of my shots, because I understand how to actually use the weapon preemptively. The thing about the classic is you have to have your shot charged up before you see the target, because once you see someone as sniper and you take the shot, you know that opportunity is gone. And if you peek with an uncharged shot, then you're going to be missing those opportunities. So it's almost like the beggar's bazooka, where when you load your rockets, you have to have a place in mind where you're going to be using them. You have to think preemptively. You have to swing corners where you expect you'll find enemies with that shot loaded up already. Or if you expect someone to push you, you have to already have a shot charged up. That way you're safe. And with the Beggar's Bazooka, you have to have a place in mind for those rockets. So you're either going to jump, maybe misfire to do a jump, or they're intended to be aimed at someone. Now, all that being said, the Classic is a bad weapon. It's much worse than stock. 150 damage is more than enough to one-shot most of the mercs in the game. So there's not really a reason you would need to do 450 damage with every shot. So I'm not suggesting you run it over stock, but I can think of at least one singular use case where I would use the Classic over stock, and that is if there are a ton of medics and heavies on the other team. And even then, it's only really equal to stock because you can still just charge up a shot with stock, but at the very least with the Classic, you don't have to be scoped in, so I guess you could be more aware of your surroundings. So the main benefit to using the Classic is that it reduces the amount of time that you need to be scoped in, because you could just not scope in at all. I think most sniper players, though, especially as you get further along in your progression, will find that you're not really spending that much time scoped in anyway. There are certainly cases where you would need to charge up a headshot, but 150 damage on an uncharged headshot is enough to two-shot every class in the game, with the exception of someone being overhealed by a medic. And even then, it would still have to be a heavy, or maybe a demo, or a soldier. But that's what's so great about these meme weapons, is that they are worse. You'll actually see in the chat, there's people complaining about the snipers. And I think there was another sniper doing pretty well as well. But I think in part it was because of the Classic. I was building up a pretty significant kill streak with a meme weapon. And when you get shot by a Classic, at least for me, sometimes my first thought is, oh, I'm just going to switch to sniper and headshot that guy, because the Classic is much worse in a sniper versus sniper scenario. And so when people do switch to sniper and I still kill them with the meme weapon, it eats at them. It gets under their skin. And that's what meme weapons do, is they make people angry. And, I don't use gimmicks to make people mad. I use gimmicks because they're fun and they're silly. But it just seems to have that effect on people. So it's no surprise to me that in recent shooter games that do have these gimmicky weapons in them, they usually end up getting nerfed into the ground to such a degree that they're unusable. And I think the biggest example of that I can think of would be the finals. Now, the finals, in my opinion, was sort of modeled after TF2 a lot in the characters and weapons of choice, but they did evolve a little bit beyond the scope of TF2. So I'm not saying they copied the game, but the gimmick weapons in that game are basically unusable now. And the meta is so strict that I think it kind of takes away from your ability to play a gimmicky playstyle and still have fun. And the finals is much more competitive, even in the casual game modes. So it's really no wonder to me that whenever a gimmick weapon is considered on par with the standard rifles and I guess meta weapons, it usually gets complained about so much that the gimmick weapon ends up getting nerfed into the ground. But I think that meme weapons generally feel out of place in the more competitive types of games. So that's why I feel like having more gimmicky weapons in a game like the finals just kind of makes less sense overall. Unless they found a way to make their game geared towards a more casual audience, I don't see any reason for them to have meme weapons in them or have them be all that viable. But for the studio that made the finals, I mean, they made a completely different game for the casual player base anyway, so what do I know? But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments section what meme weapons you like using in your favorite games. And I'll see y'all tomorrow.